The Obama administration is working to reform executive compensation. Joining us to talk about it for this week's Smith Business Close-Up is Haluk Ünal, professor of finance. Sir, thank you for being with us. And in a nutshell, tell us about your research on this topic.
Well, we have looked at the impact of CEO compensation on acquisition decisions of 150 largest banks. And our premise was to identify what the channel is that CEO compensation can affect these decisions. And we have identified two channels. The first one is whether or not compensation increases the likelihood of the CEO making a value-enhancing acquisition decision. And the other channel is whether or not it increases the likelihood that he will reject or she will reject value-destroying acquisition decision.
So the bottom line then is does higher pay make somebody a better CEO? What was the answer?
It is not really a higher pay, whether the pay is tied to performance. And there are four components of compensation. One is fixed salary, the other one is bonuses, third one is shares, and fourth one is options. And the more shares and options you give, the more you tie CEO wealth to the performance of the firm. So we have to differentiate pay for performance from the level of performance.
There was some concern that the last time Congress took a crack at reforming executive compensation, it steered that compensation towards stock and options and away from salary, and may have encouraged a risk-taking atmosphere that perhaps encouraged some of the behavior that led to the crisis we just had.
That's exactly the topic of our research. When you say risk-taking, everyone takes risk. You have to identify whether that risk-taking destroyed some value, in the eye of the shareholders. That's what we do not find. In addition to that, it reduces the likelihood that it will take such value-destroying acquisitions. That's what the contribution of our paper is. So we don't really have any evidence that compensation is really the culprit here, or the the way they are compensated. Whether or not they are paid too high or not, that's another story. But the causality is not there.
Well, there is this outrage at some of these compensation packages. What would you tell Congress to keep in mind when they start to work on that issue?
Well, it is understandable, this outrage, when you go through the financial crisis that we've gone through last year, and when people lost 40% of their wealth and they lost their jobs, they look around and say, who do we blame this? And of course, the top managers are the first to blame. So if we're going to go and revamp the system, maybe compensation is not the direction that we should look for. Maybe we should look for more capitalizing, requiring financial institutions to hold more capital, so that when such mishaps occur, they will have the backing. So let the financial institutions raise higher capital levels, and those who put that capital decide what they want to pay to their managers. So where we, like for example, Federal Reserve is trying to pass some oversight rule that they're going to control compensation levels. Well, I mean, it is the same Federal Reserve who was championing to have the financial institutions to hold less capital during, before the crisis. So it is frustrating to see that, kind of we're barking at the wrong tree.
Last question, if I may, from forget Congress for a second, and from the standpoint, from the perspective of a shareholder in a company, what would you want to see in terms of the compensation structure for the top officers? In a nutshell, please, what's good, what's risky, dangerous, or just overcompensation?
I mean, I would want him, his wealth, his pay correlated with what, my share price is going to do. So if my share price goes down, I would want him to pay for the consequences. So the only way to align these interests is to pay through shares and options. So that's very simple, rule. If I want to treat them as government workers, then I pay them fixed salary, but that does not create any incentive for them to work hard.
Very good. Finance professor Haluk Ünal joining us from the Smith School of Business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.